Hello, welcome back to Curry Girl Tech Talk. We are back with a whole new series. I am Krystal Curry. Thank you for joining. This time we are talking about Web 3. We will discuss the integration points between Web 3, AI, and even quantum technology, and how all of these new breakthrough innovations intersect. Web 3 can be a bit complex, but not to worry. We are here to review the Web 3 components, break it into easily consumable and understandable terms. Today, my mission is to introduce the Web 3 series and note the differences between Web 1 and Web 2 components versus Web 3. Let's start with a quick video to introduce you to Web 3. The story of Web 3 begins in a mysterious way. A white paper was published introducing Bitcoin in 2008, bolstered with a new technology called blockchain. The white paper was released publicly under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. Whether there exists just one person or a group of people is still unclear to this day. Though Satoshi's true identity is unknown, what is clear is the impact of the white paper that sparked a technological shift. Bitcoin is the first system that allowed peer-to-peer financial transactions through the internet without needing an intermediary. Bitcoin emerged at a time when institutional trust was at an all-time low. Bitcoin and blockchain technology became popular in 2014. But brewing in the background was an idea of a new internet. The current internet was rife with security breaches and fraud. And while people wanted a fresh and uncompromising solution, a digital way of trusting via the technology code itself. During the 2020 pandemic, consumers were encouraged to use digital methods for financial transactions as a safety precaution and protection from the transmission of the COVID-19 virus. Turns out that money is actually very literally dirty and can still have active virus for days after initial contact. Due to this nationwide movement towards a more cashless society, many of us opted for Amazon orders versus standing in line perfectly 6 feet apart, as we all hunkered down with thoughts of an uncertain future in our minds. An interesting statistic emerged during the pandemic, and it had many of us reeling about a serious wealth gap in the United States. The statistic is that the world's then richest people doubled their combined income, while millions of people fell below the poverty line. Fresh off the global pandemic, the promising ideals of a new, decentralized internet and a more secure, immutable financial transaction system were appealing to many. Herein, the introduction of Web 3, which came to prominence in 2021. Some may wonder, well, what's the problem with Web 1 and 2, and why Web 3 or 5? To that point, the internet is arguably one of the most transcendent creations of our time. It has allowed us to connect globally with access to so much information, and now enhanced with social and interactive components. And Web 3 is hoping to level that up with the implementation of decentralized, secure protocols and transparent processes fueled by decentralized applications, or DApps, and also blockchain technology. Here are what I found to be the standard tenets surrounding a new internet. I'll call it with a Web 3 manifesto, though there is no such official document. First up is decentralization. Decentralization means a decision to break free from a centralized web that is largely controlled by corporations. The decentralized web aims to democratize access and put control back into the hands of users. So it's a more user-centric, robust framework that will enhance security, protect privacy, and enable community empowerment. But a key component to realizing the promises of Web 3 is blockchain technology. blockchain is considered to be unhackable by even the most powerful computers. It is essentially a digital shared database ledger that is distributed across secure networks. Payments are processed by digitally signing a transaction with a private key. Each transaction is verified and recorded in an entry as a block that is added to the previous chain of transactions in the database. It is immutable, meaning that it cannot be undone or changed later. Although blockchain was created solely for Bitcoin, Ethereum created a blockchain technology introduced around 2014 that enables a myriad of use cases besides payments through their system of smart contracts. Another key component of Web3, smart contracts, allows participants to transact with each other through self-executing digital agreements written in code. They are programmed to execute when the preset conditions of the agreement are met. There is not a need for intervention to make this occur. Again, transaction records are immutable, verifiable, and securely distributed across the network, giving participants full ownership and visibility into the transaction data. With these foundational technologies in place, there seemed to be a consensus forming around Web3 goals of more openness, acceptance, yet maintaining privacy and security, and opportunities to participate in the economic prosperity of the country. Of course, digital currencies are key. Cryptocurrencies, tokenization, and stablecoins are all Web3 concepts. And digital wallets are used to keep your private keys and manage your currencies. And added to these building blocks are DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. These are organizational structures for cooperation without the need for government. These cultural reformations are providing a way to reimagine internet collaboration and change the internet world as we know it. So where are we now with the promise of a new internet? Join us on this journey as we explore the exciting world of Web3. I hope that you enjoyed that introductory video. It's the foundational concepts of Web3, which we're going to talk about throughout this series. For those who aren't familiar with Web3 and the technologies that are behind it, we're going to get more detailed, but we're also going to bring you up to date of where we are now. Let me first acknowledge that there have been talks about a Web 5. As I was researching Web3, I came across someone who mentioned Jack Dorsey. He's one of the early founders, early investors of Twitter, which is now X. And he was talking about or mentioning a Web 5. I don't know what happened to Web 4, but are we behind already? What's the deal? I don't think we've fully realized the complete potential of Web 3. Though I know there's an official launch date for Web3. But if anybody knows Jack Dorsey, I'd love to hear what he has to say about Web 5 and how, what the further iterations of the web are going to be and what his vision is and what kind of rumblings are going around about it. If you know him, tell him to call me. I'd be delighted to interview him for this podcast. I would love that. Let's see about calling this maybe Web 3.5 if you want, if it's a nod to Web 3 and Web 5. And that reminds me, guys, as I was thinking about Jack Dorsey, I was reminded of a book that I read. It's called The Story of Instagram. I am actually impressed with these guys. There seems to be a circle of folks in Silicon Valley, what we in the United States have looked at Silicon Valley as being the hub of the technology universe for such a long time. They have been innovators in the technology space. Of course, a lot of the tech giants originated there. If you think about Apple's, the Microsofts, and Facebook, all of those guys, and a lot of them came out of the universities there in California. And it's just been a tech center hub. So we look to them for a lot of guidance, and just a huge, a lot of investors in technology too. On I think it's Sand somewhere. It's a famous a road in California. But anyway, as I was reading the story of Instagram, I was impressed with these guys. But one of the stories that kind of sticks out with me, and I know it's just a random story, but for some reason it just delighted me because it was hilarious. It's a story, the book talks about a lunch meeting where some of the Instagram guys are meeting up with some other teams at Facebook, I believe. This doesn't involve Jack, but what was interesting to me is the dynamic of the competition. It's really quite funny. It was hilarious to me. It's my new impression of Silicon Valley. The story goes that one guy drives up in a really old car and another drives up in a newer model vehicle. And the author describes this interaction between the two. One is comfortable in a t-shirt and jeans, and the other in a fancy, more luxurious clothing. And they have a hilarious exchange. I love it. But my impression is that there's two sides of Silicon Valley in the tech sector, right? There's this old, relaxed, I'm super cool in my old car. And then the other side being, I'm, Mr. Luxury, and I have to have a luxury vehicle. And by the way, good luck getting around in your old jalopy. Anyway, I think, people are interesting, and that is one of the things that I enjoy most about technology is that it bridges all types of people together. Neither of these guys, I don't believe, are lacking in finances. But anyway, so what's your style? Are you an old jalopy kind of guy or gal? Or are you I need the newest model type of person? Or does your budget determine your taste? I know there are some car aficionados who they enjoy working on older model vehicles and fixing them up. And I actually think that's kind of cool. So let's get back to Web 3, and we can call this Web 3.5 if there's a further iteration of the web that's coming to Web 5. But we can call it Web 3.5 if you guys like. But that brought me to the point of I was looking for, okay, how did this all come together with Web3? And from the introductory video, we see that it was started with Bitcoin. So we're going to talk about some of the early concepts with digital currencies in this new Web3 series and where we are with digital currencies. I do want to acknowledge the FTX collapse. I know that some of you are aware of that. It happened 2 years ago, and a lot of people got a little bit leery of Web3 because of the FTX collapse. We're going to talk about that. Where are we now? Have things improved? And we'll get more detail about where we are with that. Though there is not an official launch of Web3, people, communities, developers are building its infrastructure and contributing decentralized applications. One of the things you'll hear me discuss in this series is a book called Web3, which I love. I believe the author, Alex Tapscott, said it best when he described Web3 as being the Wild Wild West. The Wild Wild West. And he said there is land to be staked and fortunes to be made. I hope that's enough to keep you interested in this series because I do believe that there is a lot to digest here. It's an awesome opportunity, not only for you as business and entrepreneurs, but also just individuals that are interested in what's going on, because money is going digital. We cannot, forget about that. Money is going digital, and I think that staying on top of this and understanding the technology behind it is really going to make you more comfortable, more confident as you decide how you want to invest in terms of your company. What business insights are driving your strategic decisions? Web3 is going to give you some insight into that and what things you need to do. I am starting with the first components. Component number one of Web3 is decentralization. Remember that from the video, decentralization. And one of the web versions says that a decentralized web aims to democratize access and put control back into the hands of users. And that is powerful because I believe at a macro level, it's a mind shift. At a macro level, it is a mind shift because power, once wielded by the few, is going to shift and to be distributed by the many. It is a fundamental reshaping of the dynamics of an online world, which I think is going to enhance our own confidence in terms of web transactions and having privacy and security. And we're going to get into the technology behind that too, which is blockchain. Now, I know you've heard that from the video as well. Blockchain is supposed to be unhackable. I know that there are other people in various schools of thought about blockchain, but the one thing that sticks out into my mind is blockchain is based on a technology called hash 256. Hash 256 is super duper. Okay, hash 256 is super duper secure. We'll just leave it at that. But based on that, each of these transactions are verified, recorded. You have to have a private key in order to be able to get in. These transactions are supposed to be immutable, which means that you're not able to go back and change them later. We'll get into all the nuances of how blockchain technology works, including a blockchain technology created by Ethereum, which is called smart contracts. All right, so smart contracts are these self-executing digital agreements. They're written in code. We're going to talk about the programming languages behind that, Solidity. How do you get your team involved? How do you utilize these smart contracts as a business? We're going to talk about all of that as well. And then lastly, decentralized autonomous organizations. These are my favorite part of Web3 because I think organizational structures that helped us with cultural and societal reformations, providing a way to reimagine internet collaboration is, just a powerful concept because it doesn't need any type of government to do it. It's a total new way of organizing. And we'll talk about that as well. That's going to be a part of this series. I can't wait to get into that conversation. Now you know about digital currencies. We know that money is going digital. We're going to talk about tokens. We're going to talk about stable coins, tokens, stable coins, cryptocurrencies, and your digital wallets, how all this works together. We know that tokenization includes fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens, all right? So fungible tokens are interchangeable, and then non-fungible tokens are a digital representative of something that is unique. So we'll go deep into that in one of our episodes as well. Now, here are other concepts surrounding Web3. Web3 is trustless. It is a privacy-first decentralized infrastructure where you don't need permission to gain authorization from a governing body to create or trade. It is people own their data. It's permissionless. People own their own digital assets and data, not centralized institutions or companies. I'll say that again. People own their own digital assets and data, not centralized institutions and companies. Anyone can participate in this network without the need for permission or approval. You don't need to trust intermediaries, and it reduces the risk of fraud. Transparency is a key component of Web3 ecosystem, both technically and culturally. We'll talk about how communities are going to be able to leverage the Web3 web environment to self-execute based on agreements, to collaborate with one another. And I'm going to break all this down because I think there does assume a certain level of technical savvy when you're talking about these things. And this is what this series is designed to give you: the knowledge, the information surrounding the Web3 concepts. And as entrepreneurs, even as consumers, we're going to talk about how the circulation of the dollar it goes in different communities, and how does this going to work digitally now? And the vision or access and equality is profound for Web3, and we'll talk about it. All right, so finally, my last goal was to talk about the major differences between Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. All right, so here we go. All right, so Web 1 was just the information web. Do you remember how we connected to Web 3, Web 1? It sounded a little bit like this. Okay, remember that? It was dial-up. It was very, you just connect to the web. It was read-only. It was static. Okay, that's Web 1. Web 2 is interactive web. Okay, we got a little jazzy with Web 2. We're able to connect socially. We have e-commerce. We built apps for our phones. We have YouTube, Instagram, all these wonderful social connectivity, interactive apps. We built e-commerce sites, and we're able to interact in a deeper way with Web 2. So what is different about Web 3? Web 3 is the decentralized web, right? We're going to give more control to users. Users own their data. It creates an experience where it's more secure, a more secure infrastructure for online transactions like banking and digital currencies. And it has a major goal of ensuring that fairness, equality, privacy, and security remain at the top of the list in terms of vision. And the Web3 vision is a more democratic internet version versus being a more controlled version of the internet. All right, so those are the main differences between Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. If you guys have any more concepts that you want to add in there, I am glad to add them. Just give me a shout out at currygirltechtalk.com, and I will be sure to give an update on all of this, because this is an interactive thing, right, guys? All right, so for Web3 browsers, there are new browsers that allow us to connect to Web3. We have Opera, we have Brave, we have Osiris. We have all these different new web browsers. And now the key difference between your current internet browser and a Web3 browser is that Web3 browsers support the ability for blockchain technology. That's a key component of Web3. The Web3 browsers are going to allow you to be able to take advantage of using the blockchain technology in apps, decentralized apps. So that's why you need a different browser. And Chrome has a browser extensions, and other browsers, your favorite browsers, have extensions that will allow you to connect, and they update and allow you to connect to decentralized applications in the Web3 world. So if you are considering switching up your browser, before you do that, you want to make sure that you check and make sure what the browser extensions are, what it actually, allows you to connect to, and what types of updates that they have before you just go in, because some things break. We know that certain browsers, certain Web 2 applications only work with your current browser. If you switch to Web 3, that functionality that you have in whatever app you may be using or whatever software you may be using may not be compatible with this new server. So to give you that level of awareness before you go switching to a new browser, I don't want you to not have the same function or quality with your current software or applications just based on the new browser functionality. But you would want to upgrade or get a new browser to be able to connect to this Web3 functionality and use these new decentralized applications. All right. That is the show for today. This was super duper fun. I believe this gave us a good segue into Web3. Thank you for joining for this episode. Thank you for reconnecting with me and allowing me this chance to reconvene and get everything back together for going on with the podcast. I am grateful for this platform, and I hope that you enjoy it. As we dive into the world of Web3, we will provide deeper insights with industry leaders and professionals. Though it seems the popularity and enthusiasm surrounding Web3 has waned a bit, perhaps due to the crypto collapse or fears that the technology might not be ready for prime time. However, I believe that the major tenets of Web3 are still very much worthwhile endeavors. The core components of the Web3 ecosystem are deep in the minds of developers and leaders. What are popular digital wallets and digital currencies? How will we realize true fairness and equity in terms of access to wealth and prosperity? How do communities realize the cycle of revenue with their buying power? What weight will voting carry with DAOs and organizations? Are we reimagining the future with ICOs, initial coin offerings, and other standard practices into digital ones like passports or CVs or other government societal type organizations that we currently have? How does Web3 integrate with AI and quantum technologies and even the metaverse? What does it mean for the gaming world? We will discuss it all. I hope you will join us for these discussions. Also, with each episode, starting with today's episode, we will give you a clue, which will allow you to redeem a Curry Girl Tech Talk tech ticket. What a mouthful. But our tech ticket is our digital token concept. It's an introductory concept that indicates that you're following the Web3 series. Each week, I will give you a token clue. You can go to our website at Curry Girl Tech Talk, click on the tab at the top that says Tech Ticket, and enter your clue for the day, and you will get a token. And if you collect all of the tokens at the end of the series, you will be awarded a tech ticket. And you need that tech ticket. You know why? Because your tech ticket will give you access to our live webinar. You don't want to miss that. The token clue for today is blockchain. So just go to our website, click on tech ticket, and enter the word blockchain, and you will get your token. It's just that easy. Thank you so much for joining the episode today. I am Krystal Curry. Take care. Hi, I'm Krystal Curry. Are you a technology leader interested in learning more about how to navigate major technological shifts? Do you want to know how to take advantage of this unprecedented time of tech innovation? Need a guide for transforming your organization and getting the team on board, or even communicating a strategy to your stakeholders or corporate board? Well, I've created an out-of-the-box toolset designed specifically for this. Please check my website for more information.